when you cry while praying, and it feels like God is silent. What are you supposed to do? In Psalm 34:17 it says, "The righteous cry out, and the Lord hears them." He hears them, not ignores them, not rejects them. He hears them. So if God hears you, then why? When you cried while praying, it felt like He said nothing. You didn't just pray. You broke down. Your voice wasn't steady. Your breathing changed. Your chest felt heavy, and somewhere in between your words, you stopped trying to speak, and you just cried. And listen, you didn't cry for attention. You cried because something inside you was hurting deeply, and in that moment, you expected something. Maybe not a miracle, maybe not something big, but at least a sign, a feeling, some kind of response that tells you God is here. But instead, there was silence. And that silence didn't feel peaceful. It felt loud, it felt confusing, it felt like your words disappeared into nothing, and maybe you didn't say it out loud, but inside you were thinking, God, are you even listening? Why does it feel like everyone else gets answers, but not me? Stay with me, because what I'm about to tell you might completely change the way you see this moment. You think God is silent? But what if He's not silent the way you think? Because in Isaiah 65:24 it says, "Before they call, I will answer. While they are still speaking, I will hear." Before, not after. Before. Which means before your voice broke, before your tears fell, before you even realized how much pain you were carrying, God already knew everything you were about to say. So your silence is not because God didn't hear you. Then why does He stay silent? Because sometimes God is doing something deeper than what you're asking for. And I know you don't want to hear that when you're hurting, because when you're in pain, you don't want depth. You want relief. You want it to stop. You want God to fix it immediately. But what if fixing it immediately would actually damage something inside you later? Think about that for a second. What if the reason God is silent is not because He's ignoring you, but because He's protecting you? Because sometimes a quick answer leads to a long regret, and God can see the full picture while you can only see the moment. That's why in James 1:3 it says, "The testing of your faith produces perseverance." Produces, meaning something is being built inside you right now, even if you don't feel it, even if all you feel is pain, something is forming. Let me explain it in a simple way. Have you ever noticed that people pray the deepest when they're hurting? Not when everything is fine, not when life is smooth, but when something breaks inside them. So what if this moment, this exact moment, is not pushing you away from God, but actually pulling you closer to Him, even though it feels like distance? That changes everything, because now your pain is not separation. Your pain is connection. But there's something even deeper here, and most people miss this part. God is not just working on your situation. He's working on you. And changing your situation is easy for God, but transforming you takes time, and sometimes silence is part of that transformation. In Ecclesiastes 3:1 it says, "There is a time for everything." That means there is a right time for your answer, a right time for your breakthrough, a right time for your healing. And just because it hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it's not coming. It just means it's not time yet. And that waiting, that silence, that space where nothing seems to happen, that is where your faith is being built. And I know what you're thinking. It still hurts. Yes, it does. Silence hurts, waiting hurts, crying and hearing nothing back hurts, but pain does not mean God has left you. In fact, your tears matter more than you think. In Psalm 56:8 it says, "You have collected all my tears." Collected, not ignored, not forgotten. Collected, which means every tear you cried, every silent moment you went through, every time you felt alone. God saw it. God noticed it. Nothing was wasted. And here's something powerful that most people don't realize. God doesn't always speak loudly. In 1 Kings 19:12, he was not in the wind, not in the earthquake, but in a gentle whisper. So maybe you're waiting for a loud answer while God is speaking in a quiet way. Through delays, through closed doors, through situations that don't make sense yet, even through silence itself. Because silence forces you to listen differently. It slows you down. It makes you reflect. It makes you feel things you've been avoiding. And sometimes that is exactly what you need. Let me ask you something honestly. If God answered every prayer instantly, would you still seek Him the same way? Or would you only go to Him for results? Because silence separates real faith from temporary belief. Anyone can believe when life is good, but staying when it's silent, that is real faith. And maybe that is what God is building in you right now. Not just a solution, but a stronger version of you. Not just an answer, but a deeper trust. Not just relief, but transformation. And I know you're tired. You've been holding things in for too long. You've been strong for too long. And when you finally opened your heart to God, you expected Him to respond immediately. But instead, He stayed quiet, and that hurt. But this is not the end of your story. This silence is not permanent. This moment is not final. Because God never wastes pain. He uses it. He shapes it. He turns it into something meaningful. So what do you do now? You don't stop praying. You don't walk away. You don't assume God left. You lean in even more. You pray differently. Not just for answers, but for understanding. Not just for relief, but for strength. Not just for change, but for trust. You say, God, I don't understand what you're doing, but I trust that you are doing something. Because even when you don't hear Him, He hears you. Even when you don't see Him, He sees you. Even when you feel nothing, He is working. And one day, this will make sense. One day you'll look back at this exact moment and realize God was not silent. He was working in ways you couldn't understand at the time, and everything will connect, everything will make sense, and you will see that the silence was never empty. It was full of purpose. So if you're crying while praying right now, hear this clearly. God hears you, God sees you, and even in silence, He is still working. Remember this. In Lamentations 3:25 it says, "The Lord is good to those who wait for Him." And in Romans 8:28 it says, "God works all things for good, even this moment, even this silence, even your pain." So don't give up now. Stay in faith, stay in prayer, stay connected to God even when you don't hear Him, because He hears you even now. And if this message spoke to your heart, comment, "I trust you, God." And if you're going through something right now, write your prayer below. You are not alone. Jesus' divine blessings.